Hey everybody, Japman025 here. Today I'm taking a look at my 122nd Master Raid, the Crossbone Gundam Full Cloth. I've done a lot of Crossbone Gundams before, 4 total, but I never did the Full Cloth. I came across this on a sale, thought it was a decent price, figured, hey, get the last of the line, that way I got them all. So let's have a look, see what we got. Now the torso, this is pretty much the same full cloth, same as the regular Crossbone. The full cloth doesn't change a whole lot, except for the chest is a new skull in Crossbone. The old skull was very more, more accurate of a skull, had the full jaw, had the full everything. This one looks more cartoonish, which makes sense. One thing I noticed, when you were building it, there was no white grips on each side. I'm so used to building this kit, I was a little confused. Where are those grips? It makes sense, it comes in later. The head is almost entirely a new head, despite the fact that it doesn't change all that much from the standard Crossbone. The chin's a little different, the side of the head is a little bit different. But overall, there's not a lot of change, but I guess they figured there's so many minor changes, and especially with that red antenna thing on the back, might as well just remake the whole head and just not even bother. So, pretty much an entirely new head, despite the fact that it looks pretty much just like the old head. Do got a little bit of painting to do, those red on the side of the face as always. Arms, unchanged from the Crossbone, the exact same thing. The yellow on the top of the shoulders, they give you stickers for that, I went ahead and repainted them. But standard Crossbone arms, no change. The bottom half of the kit and the backpack are completely unchanged. There is nothing different. The standard build, no change whatsoever. If you've built the Crossbone kit before, old hat. And I built this kit a lot, so I could basically do this one in my sleep. One thing I will mention with this kit in general, lots of bad nubs. And there were no polycaps on this kit, since it's an offshoot of the F91. So, lots and lots of nubs to clean up. Accessories. You get the brand, or beam boxing glove, whatever you prefer, just like you do with the standard Crossbone. And the idea is you punch that into the ship or to the other mobile suit and it leaves an X. You get 2 of those, of course. You get the grapple from the front skirt armor, a chain that comes out and the front skirt armor comes around and kind of grapples onto another enemy suit. You get the anchor, which comes out of the back skirt armor. This can be used 2 different ways. As it comes out of the back skirt armor, or you can just use that as a handle and a little spear on the end. And you have to paint the end of that spear gray. It comes white. How often you'll use it, I don't know, but it's there. The knives, 2 blades, you can have them coming out of the foot. Or there is a handle that pops out of the back of the leg. You see there. And there's 2 of them, 2 blades. So you can have a little knife fight. The beam rifle is still here from the Crossbone. This whole thing is molded in white. All that gray is paint, so you got some painting to do on this kit, and not just a little. I take that back. That tiny little piece at the bottom of the gun, the circle, that's gray, so you don't got to paint that. Everything else, yeah, you got to paint that. You can split those up into a blunderbuss, and a beam cutlass. Either one holds perfectly fine by the hand, no issues whatsoever. Do anything you want with it. Now as for some new stuff. The shoulder pads are a couple of big ugly skulls. I haven't lined them yet, but you do need to do some lining on there. They hook into the shoulder pads perfectly. No problems whatsoever. There. Now they say you can take these off and put them on the hand and act like skull boxing gloves. And as try as I might, I couldn't even come close to getting this to work. Maybe it's some trick, I don't know. I don't get it. It couldn't work for me. Now you're going to have those on the shoulders most of the time because those are what hold up the full cloth, or at least most of it. There are 4 panels, front and back. Those will anchor up and slide because they have a round connection, so you can hold them up so you can spread out the cloak a little bit more and get better access to the hands and everything underneath. They don't weigh all that much, so it's not a real issue. The next part is these cloth coverings. I'm not sure what to call them. These are what hook into that front chest piece, so that's where those brackets went. They're not there now because they are hooked. A little piece hooks them onto the top there. It's good and bad. The good is it'll never fall, locked in there solid. Bad is if you want to move it, it moves that upper chest piece open. So they kind of get in the way, and if you move one, you move them both, and that whole chest piece moves up. And you have the collar. Kind of like a, I don't know, vampiric Dracula collar. Whatever, it looks cool. And it just plops right over the connections on either side of the neck. Now, you could argue that the entire cloth has these vents on the sides. You could argue, hey, this helps with maneuverability. The collar, no, it's just there to look cool. Now, decals. They give you a lot of really good dry transfers on this kit and lots of options. They give you all sorts of different things, and they say, hey, go to town, put them wherever you want. And I'm always in favor of extra decals. Sticker decals, they actually give you a lot, but I didn't use a lot on this kit. One, because the decals are a lot mostly covered up by the cloth, and the decals that go on the cloth stink. And two, because the dry transfer they give you are friggin' humongous. The skull heart is huge. They give you this skull hooded Grim Reaper thing. They give you this thing on for model number, and then this gigantic thing for model number. I mean, adding sticker decals to something this insanely huge is kind of ridiculous. Not to mention the sticker decals don't really look good on that dark surface. So I use some, but nowhere near as much as I would on a standard Crossbone. Now, new accessories. You have this thing, a crossbow-looking thing. The name of it is called the Peacock Smasher. I know, I'll explain in a second. The yellow you see there on the front, the black in the middle, the gray running around the sides, and the lining in the back, that's all painting. This thing comes entirely white. And yeah, you gotta do both sides. So if you don't like doing painting, this thing's gonna look really hideous if you don't do some painting. So keep that in mind. The whole thing's gonna be white, and it's supposed to look gray and yellow and black. The gun itself is gray, and that's great, and those little fangs on each side, those are yellow, so that's great. But in terms of the cylinders, yeah, you gotta paint all that. The reason it's called a Peacock Smasher is because you can spread it out, kind of like a peacock's wings, or tail feathers, excuse me. And spreads out. Instead of having all of them shoot forward, they can spread out and cover a huge wide swath with fire. And that's a really cool and neat looking gun. To spread them out, you just pull on those little yellow fangs on each side and they spread out real easy. And they collapse real easy too. Works really well. That's the good news on this weapon. The bad news is it weighs a bloody ton. And it can't really hold it up. Getting this thing to hold the crossbow, Peacock Smasher, whatever, is very tricky. It can be done, but it takes a lot of effort and a lot of patience. Holding it up at any kind of straight angle or pointing it at something, no, it's pointing at the ground all the time, and that's if you can get it to hold it in the first place. The balance on this kit was never really great, but this doesn't really help all that much, but it doesn't really hamper it all that much either. Can it hold it? Yeah. Can you do much with it? No. But at least once you do have it held in there, it is a little tricky to knock it out again. Not impossible, mind you, but getting it in the first place is the tricky part. They give you this beam shield. This works pretty much the same way as the beam brand. The back of the forearm flips over and you just plug it in. Trick is, do yourself a favor and glue all this. They have a little piece that goes on the front of the shield and these pieces that go on the back of the shield. Save yourself the aggravation and just glue this thing together. Trying to keep it stable otherwise is nearly impossible. And then you got this thing, which is my personal favorite accessory. A beam sword from hell. It has all these little vents that the beams come out of, so you get these diamonds on each side. This also acts as a spear gun, as there's a spear on the front. But mostly going to be used in a sword. A couple more skulls, yes, you got to do some lining there. This thing is much easier to hold. That being said, you're still not going to get a lot of pose with this thing because it's still heavy enough that the elbow can't quite handle it. And the fact that it's so long, it does screw up balance a little bit. So he wants to lean forward while he's holding this thing. Oh, and because I almost completely forgot about him, yes, you get beam sabers. 2 of them. Yay! Now, if you get this guy airborne, it does help. The balance issues obviously go away. There are none. And you can use the sword a little easier because you can put it at all sorts of different angles. You're never going to hold it up, though, because it's just too heavy. But you can't have it moving out instead of forward or to the side. So things are helped by the action base, but it's not a fix for everything. Final thoughts on this kit. This kit looks really cool. The full cloth pieces, the new accessories they give you, the skulls everywhere. This kit really does look good. And that's what it's meant to do, is look good. If you want to do a lot of poses with this thing, if you want to get into a lot of action with this thing, no. It's meant to look cool, and that's what it does. And that's about all it does. Decals are really good, especially the dry transfer. The accessories they give you are over the top crazy. All the skulls and the detail they put into the cloth, really, really good. But you ain't going to be doing much besides letting it stand there. Put it on an action base, it does expand what it can do, but not by a ton. Is it a brick kit? No. Is it a lot higher than the brick kit? No. In the end, I'm giving it a thumbs up, but not a glowing thumbs up, let's put it that way. Well, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed my review. Hope you found it informative. If you have any questions, please ask them. I will answer them as best as I can. And please stay tuned for more. I always got more reviews coming. See you next time, guys. Oh, and one more thing. It's the Mr. Skullhead Show, starring him, Mr. Skullhead. Yes, it's his show. It's the Skullhead Show. If you didn't get that reference, I feel sorry for your childhood. Just saying.